Can we increase the font a little bit, if you can? Just a little bit. What is it on? Yeah, I didn't. I was just running through it. I didn't. I'll do it properly when we do. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry. That's why I was saying I shouldn't be looking at this. I should be looking there. last week, a generation of young people who are dedicated and community focused, of course, who are taking our democracy forward. Join me as I introduce my guests. Let's meet Boitumelo Tage from Tshwane. How are you, Boitumelo?
Fine, thanks, and you?
Also, we have Kamel Ali from Nuclear. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
We're also joined by Muponi Mhlongo from Ekurhuleni.
Hi.
Thank you. Now, in building better communities together, the voice and vision of the young representatives reflect the pledge to do and be better and build safer and healthier communities. So guys, I'm going to start with you, Boitumelo. I'm going to each give you an opportunity to share your experience and in the role that you're already working on in your community. Can you share that with me?
Yes, thank you so much for your question. I'm from Pretoria North, which is in Tshwane, Ward 98, and our focus is informal settlements, and we're working towards uplifting them and providing them with skills development so that they're able to be self-empowered and independent rather than being dependent on, you know, grants and such. And our other focus is youth unemployment, which we've seen is skyrocketing. So we're working towards ensuring that we provide young people with access to opportunities and help young people open up businesses and help them fund their dreams and aspirations. Thank you.
Great stuff. Okay, so Camille, let's hear with you, what is your experience currently and what are you doing in your community?
Yeah, so I'm from Ward 82 in Nuclear, which is in the west of Johannesburg. I've lived there for the past 26 years, and I've been fortunate enough to be a person from the community who's able to further their studies. I've led at Wits University in the Student Representative Council and other areas of student leadership as well. So I'm bringing that back to my community. I'm also a executive member of the local masjid, and I work with young people there. And the focus is really trying to give young people an alternative, because our community is unfortunately plagued by drugs and crime and that kind of thing. So yeah, that is something that I'm very passionate about, is taking young people off the streets and providing them with other opportunities.
Okay. Miponi, let's hear from you. What is currently your experience in your community and how you are trying to help with the challenges they're facing?
Okay, so basically I'm from Davidson in Etwatwa, where I come from. I've been an activist from a very young age, from my high school years. So I've always been a child of the community. I've always been working for the community. Also, I did get an opportunity to go to further my studies in tertiary, where I also led in the student movement until up to a national level. So what I'm currently doing, I'm a PR counselor as it stands in the city of Ekurhuleni. So I work in the Department of Economic Development. So what we've been doing quite as it comes to young people is that we've had quite a few programs that are centered or focused towards young people. So what we would normally also do is that we'd go to communities, especially where we come from, in the disadvantaged communities, because where we come from, it's mostly informal settlements and townships. So we assist students. We've got an annual program that I'm currently doing with some young people from my ward. We normally have those projects where we assist learners to apply for tertiary and to also apply for your NSFASs. And then we also have another program where we get these young people to upgrade their CVs, and we help them type out the CVs in formats that would assist them to get better employment. So basically our work is community-based. It's centered with the young people. We involve and include them in everything that we do so that young people do not feel excluded as well in everything. Thank you.
All right. So let me hear from you, Boitumelo. You know, communities are always very critical of like councillors who are selected during elections. Now we see their posters, they're everywhere moving around, doing door to door. But before you know it, you know, they're gone. But let's talk about the leadership qualities and your commitment, you know, to your community.
My commitment to my community is such that I strongly believe in consistent activism. And it's a culture that I'm trying to cultivate with young people that I'm working with in the Youth League in my ward or in my community, so that they understand that when their lives become better, then they're able to make the lives of other people around us better. So yeah, just being consistent in being available to our communities and to those who are in need, and providing opportunities to people and access.
All right, Camille, let me hear from you. So your commitment to leadership and the qualities that you bring, to your community, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate, like I said, to have led in the student movement at a university level. And that requires you to be on the ground and in touch with the university community. Students will hold you accountable, that's for sure. And the same thing with communities as well. It's about me being available to my community whenever they need me, and that's a commitment that I make. I'm, like I said, an executive member of my local masjid, so I'm not going anywhere. People know that through that they can hold me accountable. And I think that it's just about me as a councillor being available 24/7, because that is the role of a ward candidate. At the end of the day, we've seen how many ward councillors just take up the seat and keep it warm in council, but never put their feet on the ground again. And I think for me, that is something that I'm very passionate about, is being in touch with the community at all times.
So I see you're nodding there, Miponi. I mean, what are the people saying on the ground right now?
Okay. We've been in touch with quite a number of young people. So what we've established is that young people do love the ANC, but also what they want, as my colleague was saying, is that we must be there with them on the ground, and which is something that as youth candidates or as young candidates, it's something that we actually are already doing and something that we will continue to do as well, because young people need to have access to us. That's what they want, access to the leadership. We need to be a people-centered leadership. So I think that's basically on that point, yeah.
All right, so Boitumelo, I mean, we know about the challenges that young people are facing in our country: jobs, training opportunities, access to education. What is your experience to what the issues they're concerned with? You said you were from a community that is an informal settlement.
Yes, surrounded by informal settlements.
Okay.
So
it's a mix.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes.
So what are they saying to you on the ground when you interact with them?
I would not want to blow my own horn, but it's been easy to engage with the community because they've seen us as young people since last year when COVID started, because we've gone out and assisted where we could during the pandemic when people lost their jobs and such. So it's been easy, and we're relatable even to those who are older than us, because we come to them with reverence and we bring them to an understanding that the ANC belongs to all people. So we want them to understand that even as young councillor candidates, we'd be serving them young and old, and we'd bring them to understand that our activism is relatable. We'd want to address all issues: inequality, unemployment, lack of access to opportunities. Those are the stuff that we're focused on. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific, especially with you, because you talk about the community surrounding where you're from, being in an informal settlement. I mean, people want to be connected to electricity, but there's always challenges of people not paying for those services, metered services. What sort of things are you dealing with there?
There's 2 informal settlements that probably have about 1,000 people, and they don't even have bathrooms, like toilets. So they have 1 or 2 toilets in the community that everyone must go and use. So those are some of the issues that we need to address, and it's quite difficult to do so because we also don't have, the means to do so. But there's also the fact that their children aren't able to go to schools in the area, which is a major issue now. Their children must travel, which costs a lot of money and such. So we're dealing with issues of access to many opportunities that they don't have. Yes.
Okay. So Camille, talk to me about specifics in your community. She's dealing with toilet issues, children having access to go to school. What is specific in Nuclear?
So in Nuclear and the surrounding areas, Bosmont, Westbury, Newlands, Claremont, unfortunately our major issue is gang-related violence, drug abuse and crime. And as a result, we have a high rate of unemployment as well. We have young people who are idle, who are not able to find themselves in the system because of that. And I am very passionate about trying to solve those problems. I'm fortunate enough to sit on the Gauteng Province Advisory Panel on the 4th Industrial Revolution and digital transformation. And that's an area where I think there's huge opportunity for not only local government, but not only the provincial government, but for the local government to get involved in as well, and provide an innovation hub in that community try and bring young people away from that. We see that young people are starting their own apps and, you know, building their own coding, all this kind of things in the fourth industrial revolution, and we need to provide them with the infrastructure and the necessary resources for them to take those skills that they have already forward.
Okay. So Miponi, I mean, you know, in communities you're dealing with different generations. You're a young person. You said you're running for a PR
Councillor.
What does that mean?
It's proportional representative councillor.
Okay.
So it would mean that when people go to vote, you use 2 ballot papers in metros, and then in district municipalities there's 3 ballot papers. So where I'm from is a metro, which is Ekurhuleni, so which means we're going to have 2 ballot papers. You vote for a ward councillor and then you vote for the municipality, and that is where we come in as PR councillors, depending on how many people have voted for the ANC in the municipality. So the proportion that we get comes from that. So the many issues that we deal with in the communities, especially facing young people where I come from, there's issues related to unemployment, it's access to institutions of higher learning, as well as the drug problems. But also the ANC-led government in Ekurhuleni, the ANC-led coalition, has ensured that there are bursaries for young people so that they're able to even further their studies. There's been an increase from funding about from 100 million to 400 million in terms of the budget for bursaries. So those are some of the things that the ANC, where I come from, also is actually able to do. So dealing with different generation, it's understanding that the approach is different to each generation, because when you're dealing with people like our generation, we speak in a particular manner. We're able to engage in certain ways. And then you go to the elderly people, their main focus is on issues of housing, issues of where do they get employment. So with younger people, you're dealing with issues of access to education, you're dealing with issues sometimes of even teenage pregnancy. So it's quite a range of issues.
Okay. So Jamel, I want to come back to you. You know, everybody got to share with us what they've done and what they studied and all of that. I think because you were first, you forgot to tell us that. You know, what did you study?
I just graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Community and Health Psychology from the University of South Africa. We also led SASCO and the ANC Youth League from branch level to the region, currently leading the regional task team of the ANC Youth League in Tshwane. And I also have an NPO. So yeah, that's...
What does your NPO do?
It deals with homeless youth within the city of Tshwane. And we work towards rehabilitating them, those who are on drugs. We try our best to get them off drugs and get them off the streets. And we also work with families in disadvantaged communities and providing them with access to opportunities. Because I strongly believe in providing people with access to opportunities so that they can help themselves. Yes.
Now, obviously, COVID was quite, had a big impact on what we all try to do.
Yes.
How did that affect the work that you try to do with helping communities? What was your experience with that?
There was a bit of a halt during level 5 lockdown, and so after that it was quite difficult to locate the homeless people that we'd worked with. But luckily, because of the relationship we've had with them over the years, we were able to then find them and get them back on the track that we were with them on, and we are still able to reach out to the families that we work with. So when they need help, because of COVID, we don't go out on drives as often as we used to, but when they need help, they reach out, and then we come and go to that specific family that would need help in that moment, and then we help them as much as we can.
So, you know, I'm going to build on that COVID conversation. Today is World Mental Health Day. Okay, so I'm an advocate for mental health, and young people and everyone had to deal with mental health. You know, Camila, you spoke about, you know, drug challenges as well in your community. What do you think are the things that can be done, or you're doing to help young people address some of those issues?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the drug pandemic in my community isn't located specifically amongst young people. It's an issue that affects different generations and in different ways. So what I am planning to do, and I think where the core of the problem lies, is that there isn't a sufficient access to opportunities within the area. We need to build those opportunities for young people specifically, but for all those who are facing those challenges. I mean, COVID is a clear example of how how close we are to falling off the wagon, you know. So many people looked to drugs to try and cope with the pandemic, you know. And yes, we may have thought that access to those vices were limited during the pandemic, but unfortunately it was still rife. So yeah, I think that access to opportunities automatically brings people away from that. It gives them an alternative. It gives people hope. It gives people a chance to reach for a better world. And I think that I would like to be a living embodiment and an example in my community. You know, I've got a Bachelor of Health Sciences in Biomedical Science and a Bachelor of Laws degree. I'm currently a candidate attorney. So I want to be that inspiration and that hope to other young people in my community that it's possible. It's possible to escape and to make something better of your life. And that's why I've put myself forward in this position to be a World Councillor candidate, so that I can be directly involved in trying to build that hope.
Is your community listening to you when you're in the campaign trail?
It's a tough one. I think if I'm really honest, it's about passing that barrier of the ANC's bad reputation that it has at the moment. But once we're able to get past that and show people that the ANC is actually an organization that cares, I think the ears start opening and the eyes start opening to what the ANC has been able to do over the past 27 years, and for us to look forward to what we can do as an organization. So yes, I think it's been a challenge, but we're getting there, and I hope that we can work in the next 3 weeks up until election day, and convince enough people.
All right, I think, Mipone, that's the same question for you. I mean, with all this passion and all these ideas and the experience that you have, is your community listening to you on the campaign trail?
You know how young people are. You're going to go to other areas where people just open their door for their dogs to come at you. But all in all, I think people have been receptive towards the ANC. What we've seen is that people are unhappy, yes, but it doesn't mean that they're disregarding the ANC. They understand the challenges that are there, because there's no home where there are no challenges. And for us to be able to overcome those challenges, we need to be able to work together with them. And they also understand that the ANC loves their people. We love the people as the African National Congress, and that is not going to change because we're experiencing challenges here and there. But what's important is for us to hold our hands together and to not give up on each other, and which is what we're asking from the communities right now, to say that give us another chance to do better. As the manifesto said, the pledge in the manifesto said that we are pledging to do better, and that is what we're asking for from our communities, both young and old. Give us a chance to do better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to bring you there on the same question. Is your community listening to you, you know, when you're on the campaign trail? What's the response like on the ground?
With all honesty, it started off like, but this is a, you know.
Yeah.
But I think because of the work that they've seen me do, they are receptive to the idea that perhaps if we give it to a younger person, as much as she might look like, you know. But there is a lady who yesterday said to me, I think it works better that, you know, you'd be the face of your community because you'd be speaking to a new generation, which I think drives us forward as South Africa at large, that, you know, the politics is changing, so the face of the politics must change.
Well, that's what the DSG spoke to. You know, she said that you know, a generation of young, dedicated, community-focused young people who are going to take our democracy forward. And part of the question is, you know, from the Leonard experience, is they're looking for candidates who are not self-centered, who are not self-serving, who are about the community. From what we've heard from you guys, you are about the community. But we want to talk about your personal pledges, you know, to the manifesto, but to yourselves and these positions that you guys are, you know, are going for. Camille?
Yeah, I think so. So the ANC manifesto speaks to building safer and healthier communities. And I think that it's a general statement, but to be more specific, I want to pledge to work with my community against the scourge of gang violence and drug abuse. And in that way, build a better community, build a safer community.
Okay.
Okay, so basically also the manifesto also mentions when it speaks, I'm very passionate about the economy. So it speaks there by the economy about building a township economy. And part of my pledge is that we, as a young person, I'll be there on the ground pushing to ensure that actually there is a realization of the township economy, because when the townships were built, they were built in a manner that is meant to actually detach us from the reality of the economies in the city. So ourselves right now as young people, what we need to also ensure is that we bring it back to the township. We ensure that we assist people that have spaza shops, small businesses in the communities, those dry cleaners that young people have, all the business that is within the township. We need to ensure that there's actually, we find ways to formalize it so that the economic activity is actually much more, and then we're able to ensure that there's generation of income within the communities that is going to assist us in fighting the issues of unemployment. It's going to assist us in fighting substance abuse. It's going to also assist us to a certain extent to fight GBV, because people will be busy. They won't have a chance to go and do all of these bad things. So that is my pledge to my community, that I'll be there with you as I've always been, and I'm going to continue being consistently there.
Okay.
Thank you.
You, Bitumela?
I would probably echo what they've said, but to emphasize, I strongly believe that if we address unemployment, especially where youth are concerned, would be addressing major issues such as the drug abuse and the gang violence. But in my community, I strongly believe that we need police stations, and because we don't have one in the ward that I live in. You need to travel to a different ward if you're robbed or something happens. So I strongly believe that safety and security is something that I would want to take up. Access to opportunities, that's something I would echo at all times, but addressing unemployment is very close to my heart, and yes.
Okay, so before I talk about first-time voters, is also like how would you guys mitigate being young people and being concerned about issues of young people in your communities as leaders, with older leadership within your party? How do you guys think you can handle that? Everybody laughs. Because at the end of the day, you're young and you're in the community, right? But then there's an older generation of leaders that you also need to work closely with. What are your thoughts on that?
I think having served within the structures of the ANC, you learn that it's an organization that is able to win the hearts of people. So I think that it would be our responsibility to win the hearts of the elder leadership, that they should believe in us and allow us to take this baton. While they're still alive, guide us, because should they no longer be there, we would not have that guidance. But while they're here, they should allow us the space and the time to guide us and lead us, and we'd be able to take our country forward.
Okay. Camille?
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate enough to be from a branch that has a good mix within the leadership structures of the ANC. It wasn't without a fight, obviously, but we as young people ultimately came through and we found expression within the branch executive committee. So yeah, it's about us maintaining that, and us learning from the generation that precedes us that it's important to bring young people with along in the journey, and so that we learn from that, take that lesson, and implement it when we eventually move through the ranks of the organization.
Okay. All right,
Okay, cool. So I think firstly we draw lessons from the leaders that came before us. Like the ANC Youth League and young people in general were very instrumental in the ANC in terms of influencing policies, influencing the direction of the organization, influencing leadership. And as such, ourselves as the youth of now, within the structures of the ANC, in trying to find a balance, we need to learn from our predecessors and also draw some inspiration from them, because it's, to a certain extent, sometimes the older people within the ANC are not going to give us this power. we must then, as young people, go and take it the same way that the young people that came before us did. Because in every revolution, what is important is to have young people at the center. Even during wars, you see that it's soldiers that are taken to the front because they're still strong, they still have energy, and they have everything, fresh ideas. So that's what is going to assist us, even within reaching out to the communities, because we understand we can be able to bridge certain gaps. We understand certain things better than certain people, especially in the day and age of the 4IR and how everything is. Like, most things are now digitalized, so it becomes difficult sometimes for our older people within the ANC. And we're not saying that we want to do away with them. We're simply saying that we want a generational mix. Things must be intergenerational.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now your friends, your peers, your colleagues, your age mates are saying, I'm not going to vote me on the 1st of November, let alone vote for the ANC. What do you say to them?
I think it's important that we understand that should you not vote, you would not be contributing to the leadership in your community or in the country. So I think young people must understand that their vote literally is their voice, and without it, they have no say. So they would not even have the liberty to complain about the municipality's lack of leadership, because you did not vote. You did not contribute towards that, yeah.
Okay, come here.
It's a tough one, because I think we've seen the stats, and young people are unfortunately the smallest population group in our electorate. And that's worrying, because young people are actually in the majority of our national population. So it's not something that can happen overnight. I want to be an example to other young people of what it is that politics can do, because a lot of people are disheartened with politics in general. But I also want to say that young people must look at the organizations that are contesting these elections. Which other organization is putting forward capable young candidates to lead in communities? And that's the message that I want to give to young people who are registered to vote, is that look within the organization and see if you are represented at all in other parties.
Okay. Bonnie?
Okay, I think in addition to what they have both said, I actually echo their views. And in addition to what they have both said, the thing that we need to understand as young people, and what they must also understand, is that firstly, what I tell them is that, look, even us right now, we had to literally fight for our space. And now we are coming to you as young people and saying, give us a chance to fight for you. So that is what mostly we would say to them, that, look, give us this chance to fight for you as well, because to a certain extent, local government has been seen as somewhat of a retirement village, and it's something that young people had not really focused on. They would say, no, and now we're saying to them that we are here as your peers, and we're saying, give us the responsibility and also hold us accountable, because at the end of the day, we're also going to find each other in the different spaces where we chill socially. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, Mipone Mhlongo from Ekurhuleni, thank you for coming through, as well as Kamil Ali from Nuclear, and Buitumelo Tage from Tshwane. Thank you so much, and all the best in your candidacy, and I hope you guys go all the way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great stuff. Well, there you have it. These are the young people who are ANC candidates. Joining me tonight for ANC Election News. My name is Penny Libiani. We'll be back again on Thursday. Keep those hashtags going and go on all ANC pages at MyANC. Continue the conversations going and contribute, of course. What are your thoughts on these young people that we had for this conversation tonight? Until next Thursday, good night.